Okay, good evening and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube Table Enabled. Tonight we're doing Siman Kuf Pei 180, the last Siman in this week. Next week we're starting another 5 Simanim. I think the next Siman is actually my Machronim, controversial topic. Let's start today. Dine Pirure Hapas, crumbs of bread, olive. Ein lahasir amapa v'alechem v'racham berachas hamazon. Right? You should keep your tablecloth on. Don't take the tablecloth away. And certainly don't take the bread away before Birkas Hamazon. This is not a Gemara. The reason the Rosh and the Mordechai say this is because Birkas Hamazon should be chal on something when you're thanking Hashem for the food and you're asking Him for more food in the future. So you should have bread on the table to express the fact that the thanks that you have for the food and that the food should, continue. Beis kol mi she'eno mishayer pasal shulchano eno rosim and bracha la'olam. If you don't leave bread on your table, this is talking about after branching is over. He's not going to have siman bracha. He'll never be successful in life, in business, or anything. But you shouldn't take a whole new loaf of bread and put it. If you take a new loaf of bread, a whole loaf of bread, put it on the table, it's like doing like avodah zarah. But to keep a couple of pieces of cut up bread on the table, that should be done. The reason the Gemara says, or the reason the Mishnah Berurah says, is because maybe Aniyim will come. I think the Gemara says this because poor people might come anytime they want to have something to eat on your table. Most people don't do this. Don't know. I think it's a good idea. Not because of poor people necessarily, but good people in your house are poor people. Everyone gets hungry sometimes, and they want to have bread accessible. So sometimes, even if a kid gets hungry, come to the table, eat a piece of bread. You should always have something available, not just for, aniyim, not just outside people. People in your house are aniyim. They're kids, they're dependent on you, they're poor in a certain regard. So you should always have food on your table so people can easily access it if they're hungry. Gimel, kodem shidil yadav yichabed habayis. Before you wash my machronim, you should sweep. Shalo yisharu sham pirurim yimasu mayim shal natila. Because oftentimes people did natilas yadayim, my machronim at the table. A lot of people on Shabbos, they bring that little cup around, or the plastic cup, or a fancy metal one, or something, not the sterling silver one. Usually it's stainless steel, but some people have sterling silver. Some people bring a plastic cup, a double plastic cup. So if you pour a little bit on your hand, sometimes it gets on the table, and it might destroy the bread. And we're going to learn you're not supposed to destroy bread. Even though small pieces of bread, small crumbs that are less than a kazayas, you're allowed to go ahead physically and destroy them, pour water on them, right? That's destruction. Maybe the butler or the waiter you're going to have at your table, he's an Amaretz, maybe not even Jewish. The Gemara is machlokas maseches brachos. We pass, you're allowed to use a shamash who's an amaretz. He also is bringing food to the table. He might leave crumbs that are bigger than a kazayas. And when you pour the mayim achronim, you'll destroy these pieces. Therefore, since you're allowed to use someone like that, so therefore there's a chance there's going to be crumbs. So you should get into the habit of always sweeping the house, not just the table, but sweeping off the floor because the water might get on the floor and destroy it. V'achshav, the Rabbeinu Yonah says, now, we don't sweep the floor or the table. We keep the table on. And you go to the sink and you wash your hand. We don't have to worry about this nowadays. I guess it would depend. If you're someone that washes your hands at the table, then maybe you should sweep the floor. Or if you're not using a waiter or a waitress who's an Amaretz, right? You're also made of Chacham. Everyone's an Chacham, right? So then, a lot of people, even the Shamash is not Amaretz. But if you're around the Chacham, you don't have to do this because no one's going to leave a crumb the size of a kazayas. But if you leave the crumb the size of a kazayas, it's possible that it might get ruined with my machronim. You should take it off the table and sweep the floor first. Dalid. Even though technically if they're less than kazayas, I can pour water on them. I can destroy them. Still, it's likely to cause poverty to you. It oftentimes will cause poverty to you. So therefore, you should be careful. Now, the Mishnah Berurah, I want to highlight this Mishnah Berurah because a lot of people are very machmir on this. At least in my community where I live. It's only to step on it. To throw it in water, right? When you take bread and you throw it in water, often my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter does, she makes a hodgepodge out of food on purpose. She takes bread and puts it in her cup. It's disgusting. But, that's not even a problem, right? That's not kosher aniyas. It's only kosher aniyas to have bread, which are smaller than kazayas, to step on them. But to throw in the water, that's not a problem at all. There's a lot of small crumbs, and maybe they'll be mitzaref to kazayas. Then maybe you can't take small crumbs, or can take small crumbs and put them in our cup if together they equal kazayas. But really, the whole thing of kosher la'aniyas is only, right? I see so many people like this even when you fold up a tablecloth, right? You're folding up the tablecloth. Now, there's no liquids on the tablecloth. Usually people don't spill their drinks. If they spill their drinks, it doesn't usually go on the whole tablecloth. So people are so careful. Take any crumb or any piece of bread off the table, right? Why? Why? Right? No one's stepping on the tablecloth, of course not, right? So if they have a kazayas, right? If there's oftentimes you have pieces of challah, you cut on jambas, they're still kazayas, right? They're big pieces. But that's only a problem if they're going to get ruined by liquid. If it's not going to get ruined by a liquid, or there's a suffix or a probability it's not going to get ruined by a liquid, it's not nothing's going to spill. Usually cups with liquid in them you take off. You don't put them in the middle of the tablecloth because then it'll leak out. So if they're not going to get ruined by liquid, they're just going to get dirty and throw it in the garbage. That's not a problem. You don't have these people collect the pieces of bread and put them in a bag, and these pieces of bread stay for like 2 years in the house, and then you give them to the birds like 2 years later. I mean, no, you don't have to worry about this. When you're folding up a tablecloth, you don't have to take off. I don't care. Like, sometimes I do this. People they go crazy and they start taking all the bread off, and then, it's kind of crazy. But you don't have to worry about this. Even if it's a kazayas, it's only to throw water on it, but throw it out. There's no problem throwing out bread. It's okay to throw out bread, especially bread that's been sitting out the whole meal after you cut it. It's not fresh anymore. There's no mitzvah of baltashkas. There's no avera of baltashkas when you're throwing out food that doesn't taste good. Remember that. Baltashkas de gufa adif, the Gemara says in Masechus Shabbos, that worrying about your body is more important than the food. So therefore, the food is harmful for you, or it doesn't taste good, where it's bad for your body. Yes, if food doesn't taste good, it's bad for your body. You're not going to be a healthy person if you eat food that you don't like. So it's better to throw it out. There's no avir to throw it out. Okay, hey, nogin lachasos hasakin b'shas berkas mazon. There's a minog to cover the knife during benching. V'nagu shol lachasos b'shabbos yonam. On Shabbos yonam, you don't be careful. Now, when I read this halacha, I thought even those plastic knives. Sometimes they have a really cheap plastic knife. You have to throw it. Be careful. So I asked my Rosh Hashiva, Yaakov Friedman. He said no. It's only the table knives, even the metal ones, right? A table knife, not very sharp. You don't have to do it. Only the ones that are really sharp. The paring knives that you use, or a steak knife or something like that, which is sharp. And I believe the reason is based on why this is a halacha, why you have to cover the knife, the metal knife. So there's two reasons brought down in the Mishnah Berurah. One reason you have to cover the knives is because it's metal, right? Because it's metal, and the shulchan on your table is considered like a mizbeach, where you bring karbanos, and which elongate your life. By bringing a carbon, it removes the sin. So therefore, it says by mizbeach lo sanif alam barzal. You're not allowed, right? You're not supposed to incorporate barzel, metal, into the mizbeach or something like that, because metal is used to make swords, and that thing, destroys people's lives. So therefore, similarly, it's like mizbeach. Don't put metal knives on it. Now, why only during Birkas Hamazon you have to take it off? I don't know. You should take it off the whole time if you're not using it, according to that reason. The second reason, which really applies to Birkas Hamazon, the name of Rabbeinu Simcha. I don't know. It's a famous Rabbeinu Simcha. I don't know who it is. He was benching. He got up to Boni Yerushalayim, remembered the Korban, and he took a knife and he stabbed himself in his stomach. Now, it doesn't say if he died or not, but it's pretty severe that he stabbed himself in his stomach. Taking a little extreme. I mean, so therefore, you have to be careful during benching when you mention, Birkas Hamazon. So therefore, I believe Rav Yaakov Friedman said you don't have to worry about a table knife, even though the first reason applies because it's metal, a metal table knife. However, it's not potentially lethal. You can't really stab yourself with a pretty smooth-edged table knife. However, a sharp paring knife, you could kill yourself with. So therefore, both reasons apply. You need both reasons because this is just a minhag. If one of the reasons doesn't apply, then it's a weaker minhag. You shouldn't have to worry about it. Now, why is it on Shabbos and Yom Tov you don't have to worry about this? You can leave the paring knife or the challah knife, right, which is also potentially very dangerous. A bread knife could be dangerous. You don't have to cover that on Shabbos and Yom Tov, right? So why on Shabbos and Yom Tov? Well, according to the first reasoning, you bring korbanos on Shabbos and Yom Tov, so that concept that your shulchan aruch mizbeach applies on Shabbos and Yom Tov, so it should apply. The second reason I can understand, because there's no Avelis on Shabbos. You don't do Avelis on Shabbos or Yom Tov. Since you don't do Avelis on Shabbos and Yom Tov, so therefore the reason doesn't apply because a person is not going to act of Avelis for the Korban Abayis and stab himself on Shabbos and Yom Tov. So both reasons, so the second reason doesn't apply, and that's why on Shabbos and Yom Tov I think it's okay. Stay tuned for Ian to lean on when I talk more about this thing about what Rav Chaim Kanievsky has to say about Chol HaMoed. What about Chol HaMoed? You have to take the knife off the table or cover the knife on Chol HaMoed. Ian Tolina coming up next.